In the chaos of World War II, legends emerged not just from tanks and planes, but from the silent world of snipers. Among them, Lyudmila Pavlichenko, Lady Death, became the most successful female sniper in history, with 309 confirmed kills. Her story is one of courage, determination, and the breaking of barriers for women in combat. From university halls in Kyiv to the trenches of Odessa and Sevastopol, she became a symbol of resistance and heroism. This is the story of a woman who changed history with a rifle and unwavering resolve. Born in Ukraine in 1916, Lyudmila Pavlichenko grew up in a world marked by uncertainty and change. Even as a child, she was fiercely competitive, always striving to be the best, whether in school, sports, or games with friends. She never accepted limits set by others, challenging expectations at every turn. Her determination was evident to everyone who knew her, and she quickly earned a reputation for her strong will and independence. In Kyiv, Lyudmila worked long hours at a local factory, but she refused to let her ambitions end there. She joined a shooting club where her natural talent with a rifle became clear. Within months, she was earning sharpshooter badges, outscoring many of her male peers. Despite her growing skills as a marksman, Lyudmila's true dream was to become a historian. She spent countless evenings buried in books, fascinated by the stories of the past, never imagining she would one day become part of history herself. But in 1941, everything changed. When Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union, the world Lyudmila knew was shattered. Like millions of others, she was swept up in the chaos and fear of war. But she also felt a powerful sense of duty to defend her homeland. At the recruiting office, Lyudmila faced immediate resistance. Despite her shooting credentials, officials tried to steer her toward a nurse's role, doubting a woman's place in combat. But Lyudmila was undeterred. She refused to accept anything less than a combat position. With unwavering resolve, she insisted on joining the fight as a sniper, determined to prove her worth on the battlefield. Her persistence paid off. Lyudmila broke through barriers that had held back so many before her, and the Red Army finally accepted her as a sniper. This decision would change not only her life, but the course of history. The history she once studied in books was now unfolding all around her. Lyudmila realized she was no longer just a student of history. She was about to shape it with her own actions. Her journey from student to soldier began with a single, defiant no, a refusal to be sidelined, and a promise to herself to fight for her country. Lyudmila joined the 25th Rifle Division, ready to prove herself on the front lines. With her rifle in hand and determination in her heart, she stepped into a new chapter, one that would make her a legend. Army life was a harsh awakening. Sniping demanded more than marksmanship. It required patience, discipline, and nerves of steel. Training was brutal, hours of stillness, mastering camouflage, and learning to survive in the harshest conditions. Her first days in Odessa were spent as a stretcher-bearer, witnessing the true cost of war. Everything changed when she picked up a fallen comrade's scoped rifle and made her first 2 kills. That moment shattered any hesitation. She was now a hunter, not just a soldier. Her skill earned her respect and a proper sniper's rifle. With each mission, her confidence and reputation grew. She learned to read the battlefield, anticipate enemy moves, and strike with deadly precision. The quiet student was gone. In her place stood a focused, disciplined warrior. Odessa forged her into the sniper who would soon become a legend. During the siege of Odessa, Lyudmila racked up 187 confirmed kills, terrifying enemy troops. Her presence on the battlefield was psychological warfare. Soldiers feared the unseen sniper. Redeployed to Sevastopol, she faced even fiercer combat and deadly sniper duels. She excelled at counter-sniping, eliminating 36 enemy snipers, some of the best in the German army. Her confirmed kills climbed to 309, making her the deadliest female sniper in history. Wounded 4 times, she always returned to the fight, earning the respect of her peers and commanders. She was more than a sniper. She was a symbol of Soviet resistance. Her actions in Odessa and Sevastopol cemented her place as a true legend of the war. Behind the legend was a young woman carrying the psychological weight of her role. Lyudmila described her work as duty, not hatred. Her targets were invaders, not men. She found camaraderie with her spotter and even love with fellow sniper Alexei Kitsenko, whose death deepened her resolve. Her most famous duel, a 3-day standoff with a top German sniper, ended in victory, saving countless lives. These stories reveal the human behind the legend, a woman who endured loss, fear, and the burden of her actions. She coped by focusing on the necessity of her mission, defending her homeland. Her war was fought on 2 fronts, against the enemy and against the toll on her own soul. Through it all, she remained steadfast, driven by a sense of duty and survival. Lyudmila's personal battles were as fierce as those on the front lines. Lyudmila's fight wasn't just against the enemy, it was against deep-rooted sexism in the military. From the moment she enlisted, she faced skepticism and doubt, with many officers questioning whether a woman could truly handle the rigors of frontline combat. The military hierarchy was dominated by men, and women like Lyudmila were often seen as outliers, expected to fail or to serve only in support roles. She had to prove herself repeatedly, earning her rifle and the respect of her male comrades. Every mission was a test, not just of her skill, but of her right to stand among them as an equal. Her determination and focus set her apart, and slowly her achievements began to speak louder than the prejudices she faced. Life on the front was tough for women. Ill-fitting uniforms, lack of privacy, and constant scrutiny. The equipment was designed for men, making even basic tasks uncomfortable. In the barracks, privacy was a luxury, and every action was watched and judged, both by comrades and superiors. Despite these hardships, Lyudmila and her fellow women soldiers found strength in camaraderie. They supported each other, sharing stories, hopes and fears, forging bonds that helped them endure the relentless pressures of war. She refused special treatment, focusing on her duty and letting her performance speak for itself. Lyudmila wanted to be judged by her actions, not her gender, and she consistently rose to the challenge, never asking for favors or leniency. Her professionalism and skill paved the way for thousands of Soviet women in combat roles. As her reputation grew, she inspired others to step forward, showing that women could not only serve, but excel in the most demanding roles. Lyudmila carried the weight of representation, knowing her success would impact all women in the military. Every victory and every setback was magnified, as she became a symbol for what women could achieve if given the chance. She and her fellow female snipers shattered the myth that war was a man's domain. Their courage and effectiveness on the battlefield forced a re-evaluation of long-held beliefs about gender and combat. The Soviet Union, out of necessity, embraced women in combat, unlike the Western allies. While women in the West were largely confined to support roles, Soviet women like Lyudmila fought on the front lines, changing the face of warfare forever. Lyudmila became the face of this change, a symbol of female empowerment and resilience. Her story was celebrated not just in the Soviet Union but around the world, inspiring generations of women to break barriers in every field. Her legacy proved that courage and skill know no gender, and that determination can overcome even the most entrenched obstacles. After her 4th wound, Soviet command made a difficult decision. Lyudmila Pavlichenko was simply too valuable to risk losing on the front lines. Her reputation as a sniper had grown legendary, and her survival was now a matter of national importance. The Red Army needed her not just as a soldier, but as a symbol of Soviet resilience and courage. Instead of returning to battle, Lyudmila was given a new mission, one that would take her far from the war-torn fields of Eastern Europe. She was sent on a diplomatic tour to the United States, Canada and Britain, tasked with rallying support for the Soviet cause and urging the Allies to open a second front in Europe. It was a journey that would test her in ways the battlefield never had. In Washington, Lyudmila made history as the first Soviet citizen ever welcomed at the White House. She met President Franklin D. Roosevelt and quickly formed a close friendship with First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. The two women, both strong and determined in their own right, found common ground despite their vastly different backgrounds. But the American press seemed more interested in her uniform, her hair, and her shoes than in her extraordinary achievements as a sniper. Reporters asked her about her makeup and her love life, often ignoring the gravity of her message. Lyudmila, who had faced death countless times, found this trivialization both bewildering and infuriating. With Eleanor's encouragement, Lyudmila refused to be silenced or diminished. She began to speak out more forcefully, delivering passionate speeches across the country. Her words cut through the noise, reminding Americans of the brutal reality faced by Soviet soldiers and the urgent need for Allied unity. In Chicago, she delivered her most famous line, "I am 25 years old and I have killed 309 fascist occupants. Don't you think you've been hiding behind my back for too long?" Her directness was both shocking and deeply moving, forcing her audience to confront the realities of war. The honesty and raw emotion in her words stunned the American public. Many were inspired, some were unsettled, but few could ignore her. Lyudmila's courage and conviction began to shift public opinion, making the distant war feel immediate and personal. Through her tour, Lyudmila became more than just a decorated sniper. She was transformed into a living symbol of the Soviet struggle and a powerful advocate for Allied cooperation. Her presence helped strengthen the fragile bonds between nations fighting for a common cause. The friendship she forged with Eleanor Roosevelt endured long after the tour ended. Their bond became a testament to the power of solidarity between women and between nations in the face of adversity. On her American tour, Lyudmila Pavlichenko was no longer just Lady Death. She became a voice for her people, a bridge between East and West, and a living reminder of the sacrifices made for freedom. Back in the Soviet Union, Lyudmila was celebrated as a hero and promoted to major. She never returned to combat, instead training new snipers and shaping the next generation. After the war, she struggled with trauma and loss, but was determined to rebuild her life. She completed her history degree and became a historian, dedicating herself to scholarship and veterans advocacy. Lyudmila remained a respected public figure, sharing her story to ensure the sacrifices of her generation were remembered. She dedicated her later years to peace, remembrance, and international friendship. Lyudmila Pavlichenko died in 1974, remembered as both a formidable warrior and a passionate historian. Her life was a testament to resilience, courage, and the power of memory. Lyudmila Pavlichenko's legacy is more than her record. It's her impact on history and gender roles. She became a national hero, her image a symbol of Soviet resistance and sacrifice. Her story shattered stereotypes, proving women could excel in the most demanding combat roles. She inspired generations, showing that true strength is acting in spite of fear. Her journey from student to sniper to diplomat is a powerful lesson in courage and transformation. Today, her example continues to inspire, reminding us that heroes can come from anywhere. Lady Death's legacy endures, a testament to the extraordinary spirit of one remarkable woman.